we had a news conference, and they asked me the exact same question. I said, I disavow. Now, right after the program that we're talking about, and I thought it was clear, but we're talking about groups. I do have to know the name of the group, because who knows? I mean, they have to give me the name of the group. But right after, when I reviewed it, I put out a tweet and I put it out on Facebook that I totally disavow. Now, everybody knew I did that, but the press refused to look at that. It was right after. And I disavowed then. I disavowed today on ABC with George Stephanopoulos. I disavowed again. I mean, how many times are you supposed to disavow? But I disavow, and hopefully it's the final time I have to do it. But if you look at Facebook and if you look at Twitter, right after the show, I put out a statement because I want everybody to be sure.
Thank you and welcome to Disavowed. I am your always humble host, Bibo. Today I have with me Mario from Mario Presents. He is, I consider you a full-time activist at this point, right?
Yeah, it feels like that sometimes.
So what have you been up to, and anything going on in particular with
Man. Yeah, since we last talked, I went to Los Angeles City Hall for May Day. I rallied with a bunch of my friends, and we tried to reopen California. We started there. We also went to Sacramento and continued the message. That we did that, March or May 23rd. And then after that, a group of my friends went down and to the veterans home in Barstow, and they saved that home. That just was announced. I wish I would have been there. Just this last weekend, we were at the Trump boat parade, and we just had a good time. We've been having a good time just doing rallies.
Yeah, I think here I'm in Michigan. We must do the exact same things, because we did the rally, the congestion rally at the beginning of the show, the gridlock, yep. And then we had also a boat rally also. So,
nice.
Right. We ended up having 2,000 boats show up. So
wow, that's really cool. Los Angeles was a little timid. The boats were a little timid, I'm not gonna lie. But it's because, again, it's Los Angeles, it's California, and people are really scared about coming out in numbers. But we did have a lot of people at the park, in the marina, a lot of feet on the ground celebrating what few boats we did have. We made those boats feel ginormous.
Yeah, well, also they went by Detroit on the Detroit River here. I don't know how much you know about Michigan politics, but like mainly our metropolitan areas are very Democratic, and then the rest of the state's pretty Republican. So
I think that actually follows most of the states. I mean, I live in California. The big cities definitely are Democrat. The smaller cities, if you look at California, the Central Valley and most of the outlying side over towards Nevada, all of that is red. It's been red all of its life. It's just the coastal cities, the big, San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Sacramento.
Do you guys got a lot of lakes, or do you just relatively have the ocean?
We relatively have the ocean. The sad part about California is I actually took a history course in California geography in college. And one of the things that my professor taught us was that we humans destroyed our own rivers. We had a beautiful, beautiful river system. And we destroyed it when we were looking for gold, because we water cannoned the entire mountainside and just clogged the rivers with sediment and soot. And so we ruined our own river systems.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they cut into the mountains a lot. Yeah, I was out in Utah, and they've done some roads right through mountains. Amazing. Yeah, when you think about the technology and what it took to cut through mountains and stuff like that, it's crazy. But they didn't think about the damage back then that was being done to the environment. We can't blame them too much. But all right, so now the big story, and the reason I have you on today, the Supreme Court has ruled, basically it's not really any new ruling. They just added to the protections of the LGBTQ community, basically the same as being fired over sex. They just added it to it, right? Correct?
Right. I've stood by that ruling because of the fact that, hey, that it just kind of covered everybody, and sex and gender identity wasn't covered. Now it's covered. I can't be mad at them. It works. It's the right thing to do. Personally, I lean more libertarian, and I kind of agree with Justice Kavanaugh, and I would have preferred it come through legislation, through the Congress, through the House, and through the Senate. But the left did this with gay marriage, and what's done is done. So turnabout's fair play. I don't see you complaining when the favor was on the other side.
Right, and see, a lot of people were acting like this was some type of shocking ruling. Like I sort of expected it, because think of it like this: it's legal to now have gay marriage in this country. Imagine getting up and you get married, and then the next day you lose your job for getting married. It's sort of
right.
Yeah, it was
right,
common. Go ahead.
Happened, and I feel really bad about those cases. I feel really, and the next day because that actually did happen. I mean, I feel bad with everything that's happening. They take an extreme case like the lesbian woman or the trans woman, or was it trans woman, trans man, who couldn't get ovarian cancer surgery, and he went to 22 doctors, and that happens to be the reason why we need to have this gender identity in this whole thing, because it's a whole bundle of things we got to unpack. We got to unpack not just the ruling with the civil rights in the 1964 Act. We also have to unpack the ruling with the Healthcare Act and how it affects quote unquote transgender people, which it doesn't, because I was an insurance biller, so I understand when you bill for services, you can't bill for services that actually weren't rendered. You can't bill for a pap smear if they don't have a uterus. You can't bill for a prostate exam if they don't have a prostate. So there's a lot to unpack, but the left loves to be the victim, and so they will paint Donald Trump as this monster who hates the gays. And this is why I do what I do: is I challenge that narrative. I try to bring rationality to the argument.
Right now, I've seen online some on the right have been against this ruling. Yeah, there is some people on the right that are against the ruling that came down yesterday. See, I'm sort of against it, in this aspect. You said, I'm libertarian, right? So I don't like the government getting in and ruling it. But ethically, I've owned businesses. I would never myself personally fire someone for being trans or even gay. I wouldn't fire. I believe everyone has a right to make a living, right? But it's hard for me to have sympathy, because in this, I also disagree with firing someone even for saying something racist, right? I don't think you should. I believe in a First Amendment, but I get it, and people are like, well, that can affect their business if an employee says something racist. Well, on their own time, right? That's their business, but it could also affect your business having someone gay working at your front counter. It could.
Yes, and I'm gonna jump in there, because I have been hired for being gay. 100%. I was working at an eye doctor's office, and this doctor, we had been working together now a couple of years, and he decided to confide in me. He said, I want to confide in you, Mario. He's like, I hired you because you were the gay guy. And I said, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, it was really down to you and another candidate, and you were both exactly qualified. You had everything exactly. He's like, and deep down, I just went, you know what? My customers would prefer buying glasses from the cute gay dude than the frumpy dumpy straight man. Sorry. And he's religious. I mean, church every Sunday, taking the Eucharist, all of it. I mean, so for me to hear that was it was a nice surprise, but it wasn't, because it's what was good for his particular business. That was a business choice. It wasn't necessarily a gender choice, or it was a decision that was going to benefit him in the long run, and it did. I think, gosh, I went and saw him a few years ago, and he said that people still come in asking, like, oh, do you still talk to that really cool gay guy who used to work here? Da, 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 da. And because when you work in optometry, you see these people over years and years and years and years, so they remember me. So I've been hired simply because I'm gay. Like, that's a perfect example of that. And then my husband, who works in the real estate industry, and and I'm very prominent. People know who I am. He's received phone calls like, don't you see what your husband's doing? How dare he say you let him say things like that? And my husband turns around and says, you know what? If the roles were reversed, would you be okay with me calling you and telling you, do you know what your wife is posting? You need to talk to her about her Facebook. And then they'll say, well, what if they don't want to use you because of his politics? And he goes, they won't use me for a multitude of reasons. They won't use me because I'm a man. They won't use me because I'm white. They won't use me because whatever reason. They won't use me because I'm gay. They won't use me for whatever reason they want to choose. But you know what's going to happen is people who do use me look at me and they see the quality of work that I do. They see the person that I am. They look beyond my sexuality and they realize that sexuality has no bearing. Politics have no bearing on the work that I do. And I'm going to get more business than the business that I'm going to lose. And they all shut up.
Right. And if you were a woman and they called and say that, they'd be like, oh, you're a misogynist trying to tell your wife what to do.
Absolutely.
Right. But I really wish in this country we could move past a point even of hiring and firing people for any of these type of reasons. This is just ludicrous. And this is tearing apart the fabric of our nation. Like even a racist, right? Let's say and they're so benign now. Even if you say something as far as like all lives matter, people are losing their jobs over something as minute as that.
Brokeback Patriot. He was found by the mob. He's an LGBT patriot in Florida. He's got like 20,000, 60,000 followers now. And he was fired just last week. I was just talking to him. He's got a GoFundMe. He put it up, and in 24 hours, he had $15,000 from patriots who donated because he was actually fired, like for his statements on Facebook.
Yeah. Now let me ask you. You're Latino, right?
Yes.
You're gay, and you're conservative. What have you felt more backlash and discrimination in your life? For them three, rate them: Latino, conservative, and gay. Where have you felt the most discrimination?
It's mostly come from the gay community. The Latino community, they give it to me too. They would come in a close second, but the conservatives never really ever give me hate. Every very, very small amounts. And when they do give me hate, the fun part is other conservatives come to my rescue. And then that one person realizes that they made a mistake, because everybody else around them looks at me and goes, no, he has a right to be who he is, what he is, whatever he wants to identify. If he wants to wear 7-inch cha-cha heels at a rally, let him do it. You celebrate that. And I've had people then come up to me and apologize, because I was actually in Huntington Beach at a Reopen California, and a groyper, I that's what I call them. That's kind of what they call themselves. Religious, far right religious.
Yeah, the American First crowd.
The America First crowd. I was doing my thing in my heels, having a grand old time. My husband was handing out water. He was incognito. He doesn't like to come to the rallies. Well, he does, but he doesn't like to come because he doesn't want to be noticed. So he was on the side just handing out waters, because we brought some waters to hand out to the crowd. We thought that's something nice to do. And he's handing them out to everybody. And this guy comes up behind me and, goes, sodomite, right behind me. And I'm like, okay, I ignored it. I'm doing my thing. My husband hands him a water. He doesn't know who he is. He's drinking his water. He comes back around. He goes, sodomite. And I go, okay, we're done. So I walked up to him. I turned around. I looked at him. I said, let's have a conversation about what you just said. You called me a sodomite. Let's have a conversation. And he started backing up. He's like, no. And he holds his Bible. He's no. He's like, back away. No. The homosexual, be gone. And he ran, and I'm walking after him going, come on. I have my flag. I have my stilettos. I got my braids. I'm like, come on, let's talk. You want to call me a sodomite? That's fine. But let's have a conversation about this. And he just didn't want to have a conversation. And then after that altercation, nobody wanted to talk to him. And I for 30 minutes, I'm sitting there I don't say fending people off, but everyone's coming up. He doesn't speak for me. I'm a Christian and he does not speak for me. I'm a Christian and he does not represent us. I'm a pastor and he does not represent any Christians whatsoever. 30 minutes of that. And I'm, thank you so much. So that is the only community that's ever come back and said, no, I'm sorry for the behaviors of that person, because no LGBT person has ever done that. I've walked through gay pride with a MAGA hat on, and all I get were stares, sneers, F yous, F Donald Trump, but not a single person stepped up and said, hey guys, don't do that to this person. They have every right to be here. Not a single one of them ever did that. And not a single Hispanic turns around and says, hey, you know what? Don't call him a coconut. Don't call him a beaner. Don't call him a traitor to his race. Don't call him a nopal, because that's a derogatory term that they use against me all the time. And you know what? I just strut and keep doing my thing.
Yeah. So you would say that you felt more harassment and discrimination for being a conservative than being gay in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
And now, of course, racism is a big. Have you ever experienced racism for being a Latino?
I don't know if you can call it racism. I mean, I've had people tell me, oh, I don't think of you as Hispanic. And I'm like, well, I'm American.
Yeah.
So my culture happens to be Hispanic, but you know, what are Hispanics? Brown? Do they have to have an accent? This is something that my mom taught me when I was really young, is speak clear English, because it's going to take you many, many places. And it's going to help break those walls of prejudice down, because when you walk up to someone and you have a thick accent, you immediately are giving away all kinds of information about yourself that you don't necessarily realize. And people make prejudice, you know, snap judgments. This is part of the human psyche. This is part of human development. And my mom was very, very big on trying to teach me how to dispel that from a very young age.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the truth is, in this country right now, most of the race problems tend to be white and black. Let's just be honest, right? The Latino community, I feel like it's sort of been this issue's been going on such a long time that it, like with Spain and the Spaniards, the conquistadors, and so I feel like it's sort of smoothed out over the years, you know. And but did you see in New Mexico where they were trying to tear down the conquistadors statue, and a gentleman got shot last
yeah, absolutely. And I just tweeted about our Instagram about shoot back, because at this point we need to defend our monuments. I'm with the president. I'm with these people who want to defend our monuments, because you can't erase history. Because if you look at here I am drawing a really long stretch. Look what happened in the Middle East when ISIS rose. What was the first thing they did? They destroyed the history. They destroyed the monuments. They went to museums. And that's exactly what these kids are doing. They're claiming that, oh, we're getting rid of the ugly stain of racism, but they're destroying the statues of abolitionists. They're destroying the statues of freedom fighters who freed slaves, because they don't know their history. And so they're literally erasing history. And there's a thread in there that I want to pull. I just don't want to pull it too hard, because then I know I'm going to become a big target. We have discovered Hamas in the BLM protests in Los Angeles. We found individuals who are known terrorists embedded in the BLM protests here locally.
Oh yeah, I believe that. I think up in Seattle, like, yeah, the video came out the other day of that Roz guy just handing out a AR-15 to a young man, and the young man's like, yeah, I know how to use a gun, and then he hands him the gun, and the young man can't even release the magazine. You know, he didn't even know how to release. You know, what's going on up there is very dangerous. I actually interviewed the gentleman that is organizing to go tear down the barricades, right?
Okay.
And yeah, have you heard about that?
Oh yeah, the what is it? Basically it's Portland round 2.
Yeah. I just think we should be very careful. Like, I'm not saying I'm against him doing it, but I got 4 children. I doubt I'm gonna go up there and
right.
be involved.
And that's the scary part, is they are armed now, and they're gonna defend it, and it's gonna take something big. It's gonna take something, unfortunately, not pretty, because these people are completely unhinged. They will attack you. They've been attacking each other, even in their little Chaz area. You hear about rapes happening. You hear about attacks happening. They can't even control. They're literally animals. They're living in anarchy. This is anarchy. This is what absence of government.
Yeah, they're completely lawless. And let's say they're successful. Let's say this goes on for 6 months or a year. Okay, why can't then patriots go take a city over. You know,
Right.
and what we're just gonna have all these little enclaves of people just taking over. You know, I'm serious. Like, what? Where does it end? You know, and the laws are actually going in the liberal direction. Let's be honest. Like, we're becoming more progressive as a society. You know, and like, dude, I'm against gay marriage, but I would never come up to you and call you a sodomite in public. You know, there's some type of decency, you know, you have to have.
Right. I mean, and I agree with you. I don't agree with gay marriage. I actually support, who was it? Was it Alabama or was it, I think it was Alabama as I'm thinking about it. Alabama or Georgia, one of the two, completely got rid of marriage altogether. There's no marriage in their legislature. They're applying the formula of civil unions for all couples, regardless of sexual identity or sexual gender or gender makeup. They're going to let the churches marry. So if the church doesn't want to marry the gay couple, the gay couple can go find a church that will.
Yeah. Well, and then calling someone a sodomite is so ignorant because, dude, just because you're straight don't mean you're not a sodomite. I mean, straight couples can be guilty of sodomy also.
Exactly.
And you know, but yeah, I agree with you on the part of just eliminating government out of marriage. You know, and I just this is the type of issues that are destroying our nation. You know, like even you know. Let me ask you: do you believe that, like the Sacramento Kings basketball announcer lost his job for saying "All Lives Matter"? Right. Mm-hmm. And so they're basically labeling him a racist, right? Now, in his industry, he's probably never going to get a job like that again, right? Do you think he woke up the day after and now he's repented and he's sorry? Yeah.
Right. He's if anything, when you push someone like that, just for a simple statement like "All Lives Matter," you will end up solidifying those viewpoints. You don't push them away from those viewpoints. You reinforce them, so they can keep doing whatever they're doing, but they're reinforcing what little bit of sanity is left. I'm seeing LGBT walking away, leaving the left, you know, going right, whatever you want to call it, but it's happening. There's a mass exodus because the left has lost its marbles.
I think it's actually more dangerous than that. I think we have the potential of turning these people into like mass shooters. You know, maybe not the announcer, but like everyday normal people.
No,
if you make lose their lives, lose their livelihood, they can't feed their children. I mean, you're going to cause like Vegas's, like what they did in Vegas.
Right, because these people can't control their emotions. This is what this is where my Mario Presents comes in. I've always, and for a very, very long time, have been saying that the absence of structure in a child's life creates a child who can no longer handle challenges, and it affects you here. So you hear more and more stories of kids doing awful things to one another, like shooting each other over a video game. What is it? Killing each other over Pokemon Go. You couldn't. Your sister didn't let you take your turn on the PlayStation, and so you shot her in the head. That is actually happening. Then you flash forward to these 20-year-olds who have children of their own, and I see videos of adults taking infants, baby toddlers, and swinging them as a weapon, like a sack of potatoes, because they have beef with that bitch over there, and you're gonna fucking get it. And this is what I have. And what happens is that child inside of you who was never taught to control those emotions, and you act it out, you now flash forward to adulthood, and you have a baby in your arms, and you're over here, and what bitch, and you just take that baby and you start using it as a weapon. And that's because you didn't have self-control. You weren't taught that. Those things, those behaviors are learned behaviors, and without parental structure, we don't have them. And when parents go, they're helicopter their kids and don't teach them how to uh, deal with setbacks, they're going to lash out in different ways. My nephew, he ticks when he's frustrated. He literally like just
Yeah.
ticks because he's frustrated and he doesn't know how to channel that frustration or even express
Yeah.
it.
Well, that's what creates good moral men, is dealing with pressure. You have to deal with pressure. And, you know, unfortunately in this country right now, if you put your political beliefs out there, you better be ready to deal with the ramifications. Like, if not, unfortunately in this country, you better stay quiet if you don't want to have to deal with the blowback, because this is the political environment we're in. Like, it's just the way it is. It's the cancel culture, you know. It completely is, you know.
Well, yeah, and then the new personalities that come out, because I've been doing what I do for a long time, quietly at the beginning, behind the scenes, but and also locally in my community. But now I've gotten on a larger, more national stage. Um, soon after I, sorry, Susie, soon after I did that, my own coming out last year, I started seeing more personalities, and like Lady Maga, she's a drag queen for Trump, and the amount of hate that she gets. She puts one post up and it's just flooded with, all kinds of liberals who just want to comment. And I just tell her, because she's called me, we talk on the phone, and she's like, oh, the haters, they get to me sometimes, and so we got to help each other out. So we do. I hate, chin up, it's okay, we're here, I'm here for you. And I do, when I'm not in Facebook jail, I go onto her page and I comment, and I make sure that people realize that she's not alone, and that there are others, and there are really good supporters. And we talk on the phone to kind of to encourage ourselves, because you're right. If in this day and age, if you are willing to put your politics out there, you're willing to get a lot of backlash, and that backlash hurts sometimes, especially if your skin has your carapace hasn't hardened.
Yeah, right. Uh, See, I grew up in Metro Detroit, so I grew up in Detroit. So I've been dealing with it since the beginning. Like, originally, I was a Democrat. Growing up, and then I switched over, and so I've been dealing with the vitriol for years. So I'm used to it, Unfortunately, I think when you grow up in Democratic areas where it's heavily Democrat, you get used to it really quick.
Yeah. Or you grow up, I don't even know. Maybe it was my parents, maybe it was kind of where I grew up. I mean, I was one of the only Hispanic people in my area. I live in Palmdale. I live in it was kind of the corners where it was mostly ranches, so it was a lot of white kids, one or two black kids, and I was the token, so I didn't care. Some people, the few Hispanic kids who I didn't talk to, made fun of me, and I didn't care, because what were they going to do? They weren't going to make me food. I was in high school. They weren't going to make food. They're not going to pay my grades. They're not going to take my tests. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, you got to blow people off like that. But you got to expect when you're in a community that's completely opposite. Like, okay, if I walk into a club or a restaurant and literally everyone in there is black except for me, I still notice. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. You notice.
Yeah, right. Like, there's no way getting around that. But see, you lived in a community where you said you were a severe minority, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not like they ran you out of town. You might have to deal with someone saying a little bit here and there, but relatively, were you accepted?
Oh, yes, absolutely. To this day, most of my high school friends are still my friends, because I was just that friendly person. I didn't care. I didn't let any hater bother me. And then what happened is the haters ended up turning either completely away and walking away from me and never seeing me again, or they went the other way, and they're like, hey, he might be doing something right. Let me hang out with him and find out a bit more. And we're still hanging out.
Yeah, they're some of your best friends ever.
Yeah.
All right, you got anything else? We're gonna just keep it about a half hour today.
Sure. No.
Anything else going on?
So we had originally planned me and my friends, my patriots, we had originally planned to do a welcome for all of the new Americans here in Los Angeles, but they canceled it because of COVID-19 and they're not going to be doing it. So we're going to be doing a flag wave over the freeway. I believe it's going to be in downtown Los Angeles. Operation Flag Drop will be there with their 20-foot Make America Great Again Trump flag. So we're going to try and get some national attention on that. And other than that, if you guys want to follow me, always follow me on mariopresents.com.
All right. And then you also, your Facebook page is doing very well too.
Yes, you can also like me on Facebook, Mario Presents. I recently just posted a wonderful image of myself in red, white, and blue stilettos in front of Planned Parenthood with a sign that says Black Lives Matter everywhere but in here.
Yeah, I see that. It's doing very well. You know that's going to turn into a meme, right?
It probably will. And it's funny because it triggers the left. Everything triggers the left, from the braids to the stilettos to the sign to being in front of all of it. They're losing their minds, and conservatives are screaming and having a great time with it. And I am just sitting back watching it and surprised.
You even have your own GIFs. I've seen GIFs of you. Yeah,
I've made a couple
like
GIFs.
tossing your hair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you for joining me, and God bless you.
Thank you, Bebo. It was nice being here, and I'll see you next time.